so
I
good to
am
see you.
great.
So good
How
to
are
meet you.
you?
For all those watching, I'm Annalie with Broadway in Chicago. We are talking with Javier Muñoz from The Devil Wears Prada, and he plays Nigel. So if you have any questions for Javier, go ahead and put them in the comments. We'll get to as many as possible. But Javier, first and foremost, I want to start off with a little bit of a rapid fire question, if that sounds good to you, to get to know you a little bit. Alrighty, so
Great.
you've been in Chicago for
Awesome.
the past few weeks now. What has been your favorite part of Chicago?
Oh my God, my favorite part. I think honestly, the it took a while before I could really start to investigate and adventure out because our schedule was so rigorous. But honestly, my favorite part is walking that lakefront trail just off of Millennium Park. I think I've walked that trail like 7 or 8 times since I've been here, and it's so beautiful. The geese are mean, I won't lie, but everything else is like peaceful, beautiful. No way could I find that in New York. And the water's a beautiful color, and it's not ever crowded or packed. It's like the perfect amount of people, and it's green, it's lush, and it just like calms my everything.
Good. Well, it
So
sounds
that's been
like
my
we'll definitely
favorite.
have to have you back here in the city after this is done.
Yeah, I have to get a Chicago hot dog. That's the one thing I haven't done.
All
So
right,
I
for
have
all
to
those
come
who are
back.
watching, if you have a favorite Chicago hot dog spot that you want Javier to try, put it in the comments. Alrighty, what is your current favorite album slash artist you're listening to these days?
Ooh, I've been stuck on um, really just focusing. So music is my preparation for my roles, and no matter who I'm playing or what I'm doing, and so I really kind of when I'm on contract, I vibe towards, and I'm not home in New York. I vibe towards what's the music that inspires me for a certain role. So I have a little like playlist for Nigel that's like Beyonce and Coldplay and of course Elton John because the maestro gets you started like nobody else. Um, and honestly, Lizzo's most recent release is like my absolute go-to for Nigel. Like it's just the perfect amount of like get him in his groove before he's gonna go out on the stage. And so that's really what I've been focused on. I haven't I mean, honestly, my favorite band of all time is Coldplay. So when I'm home and I'm just needing music, I put on Spotify, put on like a Coldplay playlist, and
So fantastic.
just let it go.
Do you have a current favorite TV show you're watching these days?
Right now, because I'm actually very dear friends with Darcy Carden. She and I started doing community theater together in California ages ago. We were members of a theater company that we all began together post college. And so I just started A League of Their Own, I guess on Monday, maybe. And I'm hooked. It's so good.
So good.
It's
Alrighty, and
so
then
good.
to round us out, well, actually, no, I lied. I have two more questions. One, what is the last show that you saw? Last production you saw?
Ooh, gosh, what is the last show that I saw? Was oh,
Mm.
A Strange Loop, and of course, it was mind blowing. It was absolutely mind blowing. That is so completely brilliant.
So
Everyone
good.
should
All
see
right, official last
it.
rapid fire question here. What was the first show that you were ever in? Does not have to be professional.
Ever
Yeah.
like
Yes.
in my life ever? Oh my. Okay, so like we're going back to elementary school, and the first show I did was a production of Free to Be You and Me, and I think I was in third, second, second or third grade, maybe even first grade. I actually can't remember, but it was Free to Be You and Me, and I played the King of the
That's the
Lions.
All right, Javier, I would love to go to the very beginning of what really sparked your love for acting. Was it that performance in third grade, or was it something later on in life?
Honestly, I I've always, my entire family is creative and artistic in some way, right? But no one's ever pursued it professionally. So I'm really the first in my family to have this inclination and pursue it. And I grew up with music. I grew up with dance. I grew up with art. We couldn't afford to go to the theater, but it was everywhere. It was on our, the days of records. So it was on vinyl, and it was on our TVs, and it was on our radios, and it was just part of my life. Music and dance was so much part of my life. And so I really didn't. I'm sorry if you can hear that. Those are those jets overhead that everyone's going nuts about. Um, the support from my family wasn't there to pursue a life in the arts, but arts were part of our life. So I pursued science, and I was actually interested in astrophysics. I never was pursuing this at all. I was a science fanatic, and that's what I was going to do. And so when I got the high school I went to was sort of a magnet school, which is like it breaks the structure of normal high school, and it follows more of a college campus. So you have, instead of a major, it's like a focus, and they had a planetarium. So I went for science, and I went for astronomy and astrophysics, and then there was a theater program as well. That's actually where Marissa Tomei went as well. And so I had friends who were in the theater program. After school, I would go to the library, I would do my homework and wait for my friends to get out of rehearsal so that we could take the bus home together, because it was, the late 80s, early 90s, and it was safety in numbers in New York. So I would pick them up at the theater, and then we'd take the bus together. And I never went in, but it was freshman year, and it was the first time I went into the theater to wait for them. And they were in tech for Annie Get Your Gun, and they were doing Sun in the Morning, Moon at Night. And my friends were the only ensemble members in the number, with Annie. And I just sat in the back and I watched the thing, and I didn't really fully understand what I was watching. I'd seen theater, but I'd never experienced the feeling of rehearsal and tech, and what that stop and go is, and the workings of it. And my science brain went nuts about like what's happening, like trying to figure it out. And it felt good, right? And I was like, why am I not doing this? Right? Why am I not pursuing this? So I auditioned for the next show. It was The King and I. I got cast as an Amazon guard. I had no lines. I sang nothing. But I was literally like, this is what I meant to be doing. And it honestly is one of the first spaces in my life that was safe. The neighborhood I grew up in had the highest crime rate in Brooklyn, in New York City, in the 70s and 80s when I was growing up there. So I had a very violent, turbulent welcome into, childhood and everything. So it really was the first space that accepted me fully as I am, and whatever that was at the age of 13, right? And also everyone else around me. It was so diverse. It was so welcoming. It was so safe. And that was just like, I don't know what this is. I know I belong here. And then cut to, I was 15 years old, and an agent saw me in The Diary of Anne Frank. I was playing Peter. And that was my first agent meeting. And I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't get signed. I literally walked in. I had no idea how to answer her question. Right. But at that point, the directors of the program really took me under their wing and nurtured me. And so by 17, about a month before I graduated high school, thanks to their guidance and sort of making it happen, I signed with my first agent, and the rest has literally been history.
Here you are playing Nigel in The Devil Wears Prada. I would love to know why specifically you said yes to this show and to this role.
So, as you know, this production was postponed due to the pandemic, right? So this should have seen production back in 2020. And in fact, I auditioned and had my callback in January of 2020. So just weeks later, we were all locking down. So I really, first of all, new works are mainly what I do. It's rare for me to say yes to something that's a revival of some sort. unless it's a role I've dreamt about doing, you know. But it's really what I'm good at. I'm really good at getting in the room and having the conversations about how do we mine this idea that doesn't know what it is yet, right? And that's the work I've done with Lynn for eons. You know what I'm, you know, it's that's really what is a natural thing for me, right? And I think that's my science brain. It's like I'm curious, so I want to break everything down and ask all the questions, right? So that was the first appeal, was that this was a new project. Even though it's based on a film, a musical version of the film is going to be its own thing. So it's new. And I loved, I mean, Nigel's a beloved character. I mean, tell me who doesn't watch that movie and not fall in love with Nigel. I fell in love with Nigel. It's just like, you know, you know, he's a beautiful character. And what I saw on the page for this particular version was a beautiful concept of a fully realized character of Nigel, right? So it wasn't the movie. It was going to really give him some depth. And I really, honestly, I mean, if whether folks here know my platform and my activism, standing very strongly for LGBTQ plus rights and protections and equality is so much at the heart of what I do, and I don't separate my activism from my work. So this really was like, here is an LGBTQ character with such integrity and such dignity that I'm reading on the page, and I'm proud of him. So I want to play him, right? So like it was that kind of pull towards him, and then his songs. I mean, like, you know, God, like they're awesome. So like it was just the package that was like, I have to book this. I have to book this. And here we are.
We have a specific question about a song here. What's it like for you to sing "Scene" every night? That song is stunning every time and so important.
Yeah, it is important. It is a beautifully important song that has lyrics that are unfortunately more relevant right now than they've ever been, with the constant attacks on LGBTQ plus rights and equalities and protections and dignities all over our country. And so there are lyrics in that song that are literally at the core of my identity, right? And I also think beyond that, I think anyone who finds a situation where they feel like they belong and they found their place, this song is also speaking to that. But the hardest challenge of that is not to play the sentiment, right? It's in my experience, it's relevant to the way I had to perform Alabanza in the Heights, right? Alabanza, when Abuela passes, it's not indulgent. It's not about Usnavi. It's about the community who needs to hear Usnavi because they need to heal, right? And then, and that's the story of it. And then as an actor in the situation of telling the story to an audience, it's about the audience taking the journey of mourning this character, not him. So the challenge with Scene is not to get caught in the sentiment of it. To tell, I'm giving this testimony to Andy, who I mean, our journey from like, I'm berating her when she first comes in, and our slow development as we become colleagues and friends, and now this is the point where I'm really opening up to her, and I'm doing it because it's her time. I want to give this to her. I want to guide her. I wanted her to have the fullness of this experience, right? And that's the story of it. That's the moment on stage. But for the audience has to take this journey. It's not about Nigel taking this journey down memory lane. It's the audience coming in to him finally. He's finally really opening up and letting everyone in, and here and letting everyone understand this is why. This is literally why. This is why, his entire why. And so there are times where it gets, you know, where things, the climax of the song moves me, and I'm definitely moved to there have been tears, there have been moments where I can't help but resist. You know, there's no resisting the emotion when it comes up. But that's not the intention or the focus or the purpose of the song, right? That's not my destination. That just happens in the storytelling of it. But the real experience is it's a giving. It's giving to the audience every single night. So they take the journey, right? And I'm just a vehicle through which they're taking.
Good, so good. We are just about at the end of our time, but I do have one last question to ask. In your Instagram bio, you have this wonderful quote that I want to talk about. I cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that I can do. Can you tell us a little bit about that quote and what it means to you?
So I have a very dear friend who is a veteran, and she shared this with me initially. And she's been this constant guide for me in terms of healing through trauma. And this is something that's very new for me in that really I hadn't even fully embraced until lockdown. And she just happened to already be in my life and be able to be this foundation for me. And this is one of her favorite quotes that I took on from her that speaks to, and she's also an activist, and that's really how we met. And that particular quote, I've always said throughout my years, even when I was just starting out as an activist and learning the ropes and not really knowing how to do it and what I was doing. There was one part of my message that was always consistent, and it was that there really is no effort. No effort made in the spirit of helping, in the spirit of community, in the spirit of love and giving that is small. There is no effort and no gesture. As it may feel like the tiniest thing that you're not even thinking about, but it is not. And so it is so vital that in all of our daily lives, that no matter what the interaction is, even if we get it wrong, especially when we get it wrong, to sit back and go, how I should do that. I could do that better. How can I do that better the next time that happens? Or just do it. Do the good. Do the thing, whatever it is, because that literally is vital energy that we have circulating amongst us all in our daily lives, is the small ways we do good that affect our joy, that then we do a small good for someone else and some other, and it just keeps going. And that is every day, every moment of every day. And that's so vital. And it's at the core of what I'm trying to do. And I don't always get it right, but I am always trying to do that. And so that is why that's there.
So perfect. Thank you so much for sharing your time and talents with us. We're so grateful. For all of you who are watching, you don't want to miss The Devil Wears Prada the musical. It's at the Nederlander Theater until this Sunday only. This Sunday only. No extensions. It's your last chance to come see this world premiere show. It's really such a fun show. Get your tickets. BroadwayInChicago.com. We are nearly sold out, so get them soon. And we hope to see you at the theater. Javier, thank you so much again. We're so excited to watch just the journey of this show grow, and we can't wait to see where it goes next.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me. Thank you all for joining.